where do you put your shark teeth once you find one on the beach? Do you put it in your pocket? Well, you could, but you might lose it. Do you put it in a plastic bag? Well, I did that first. I put it in a sandwich bag, and then I noticed later that one of the teeth poked a hole in the bag, and I had to dig through my suitcase to find that tooth. I then kind of graduated to put it in this, a little shampoo bottle from where I was staying. Well, that's good for storage, but I don't want to hold this in my hand. I don't want to really keep it in my pocket. I'm afraid I'll lose teeth. Well, I wanted something I could kind of wear to put my teeth in that I don't have to hold in my hand or worry about losing. Well, I made this. It's a shark tooth lanyard. Very easy, very simple to make. I'm going to show you right here how I did it. That's my great white shark tooth, and that's my meg tooth. You can see in my previous video on my sifting method for finding shark teeth. Here we go. Okay, in terms of materials needed, you'll need approximately 4 feet of paracord. And this is the cool part because you can really personalize it. You can use any color you want. That's kind of neat. This is optional, but you don't have to. It's called a pop barrel connector. It just snaps together around your neck. So let's say if you get your lanyard hung on something when you're walking, or this just pulls right apart. It unsnaps. So there you go for safety. I have these Everbuilt eye bolts and screw nuts, and you can see the size. I used 1 5/8 by 832, and the screw nuts are 832 also. I like to have extra screw nuts to go on the bottom, so when you screw underneath the lid to hold it on. I've got both of these at Home Depot. I've looked at other hardware stores, and I could find the eye bolts, but I could not find the screw nuts to match up with them. Well, these match up perfectly. These are the very ones I use. Everbuilt eye bolts with nuts, and then the machine screw nuts, 832, 832. You also need a plastic bottle. Now, as you can see here, I used the just old herbs, spices bottle, as you can see. You could also use old medicine bottles. They work too, a little smaller, but there you go. You could even go a little bit bigger if you choose. I have a little bath salt bottle. I kind of like that one if I can get the label off of it, but it's a little bigger. That's okay too. I do not recommend using glass. Oh, also something that you'll need is, I like to use super glue or Loctite or even silicone on the threads when I put the bolt on, just to kind of keep it nice and snug. Okay, if you see the number 8 screw that comes in this package, okay, a 1/8 drill bit is what you'll need next to put the hole in the top of the bottle. Now, 1/8 is exact fit. I like to go now I've used 1/8 before. Last time, I like to use the 7/64 bit. It's just a tad smaller, and it's a little more tight of the fit. That's just my preference. But if you just have 1/8, that's fine. Next, you want to drill the hole. Make sure you wear safety glasses just to be safe. And there you go. If you don't have a drill, but you can still have a bit, you can just poke a hole. That's what I did. I just kind of worked it and poked the hole right through too. I've done that before. Or you can also use a small pin or a nail, just kind of poke and just work until you get a small hole. But there you go. For the next step, you're going to take the nut that came with your eye bolt. Just go ahead and screw that on all the way. Do not over tighten it at the end. See, feel it right there? It kind of stops. That's good enough. Just snug it gently, but not too much. And then you're going to feed it through the hole in your lid. Now, before I move on here, it depends how hard the plastic is. This is very soft plastic, and like I said, I used that 7/64 drill bit. If your plastic is a little harder, it may be a little snug to get that in. If you find that's your problem, you can just go back to your 1/8 drill bit and just kind of drill it in and out a few times, turn it around even, and drill it in and out that way. It removes the excess plastic buildup there. But there you go. But you want to have a nice clean hole. Then you take your eye bolt and you screw on the lid. It's going to be a little snug. It should slide on or screw on, but remember mine's a little bit snug. That's because I don't want any play in the lid. That's just me. Okay, I feel that tightening up well. See? And you'll have a little bit of excess right here. You can saw that off if you want. I don't, because the bottle's nice and long, and look, it doesn't interfere with anything. But if you don't like that, you can saw off. It's fine. Just make sure you sand off any burrs that may remain, that may scratch you. But I just leave that there. The next thing I want to do, take the nut that came out of that bag and screw on from the bottom. See? Just snug it on there. Here's the spot where I take some glue. I'm gonna unscrew that just a little bit. I actually should unscrew that a little bit too. I'll put a little bit of glue right there, the bottom of that nut, and a little bit of glue in the bottom of that nut, and that just keeps it really firm on there so you can use it for a very long time. Just gonna put a little bit of clear silicone right there. Okay, and then I'll screw that back on. And as you see, as it sits flush there, I'll just press that silicone, make a nice little seal. There we go. We wipe any excess with a paper towel. See? And on the other side, same thing. You're going to squeeze a little bit on the underside. There we go. Just going to push that up in there, right on the threads, and then screw it back in. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside and let that dry, and I'm going to tie on my paracord. Our silicone is now dry, so we are ready to put this back on and tie the paracord. And I wanted to mention also that if you don't have silicone, you could use super glue. Honestly, you could even use Elmer's glue, because all we're doing is just make it real tight so it's firm and no slop in it and loose. Anything will really work, because you're really not going to be banging this around too much. You just want it to be tight and secure. So whatever you use, I believe you will be fine. I did tie the lid back on because it's easier to hold when you're tying the paracord. It just makes it easier to hold, so you're not just holding onto the lid. So let's tie this on. Again, you'll need about 4 feet of paracord, depending how tall you are. You could just trim off the excess. Okay, you're going to start off by feeding this through the eye ring on the bolt. Once you get it through the eye bolt, what you want to do is you want to pull it down and see where the end is. I like to put this around my neck and then pull this up or down just to make sure it's hanging in the right spot, and stand up and see how it feels, because if it's too long and it's just flopping against you, it's not going to be comfortable. Of course, if it's way too short, you're not going to either be able to get it on your head, or it's going to be too high up on your body. They're just whatever's comfortable for you. Now also, I'm going to use this on the ends for a safety feature, so if I get hung up on something, it'll pop open, or I can take it on and off. So whatever length you get it at, so let's say if right here is where I want to be, I'm going to actually move it down a little bit, because you're actually going to cut later to put this on, which I'll explain in just a little bit. So again, if this is where it's comfortable at, make sure you go down about 1 inch or so, 1.5 inches, 2 inches even, so you have enough room to tie this on later. Okay, I know this seems very precise, but wherever you get it to where it's comfortable, I kind of like for the bottom to be sitting about at my belly button. It's just long enough so I can open it and get it on if I have my hands tied up, if I'm picking up a shark tooth or something, but it's just long enough so it doesn't just flop around smacking everything. So wherever you get it to where you want it, which is about right there for me, I'm going to take a marker and mark right there. See? And that's hard to see. I should have used another color, but red's what I had handy. Mark it right there, and that's where it should come to when you tie your knot. Now when you tie your knot later, that'll be covered up, so you won't even see. So whatever marker you use, you will be fine. So now I have it marked, and now I'm ready to tie it on. Okay, you can see my red marks here and here. You're ready to tie it on. The first knot is just a basic overhand knot, because if you start macrameing from here, it curves on you, and then it's hanging on you sideways. So what I found is, if I do an overhand knot, I'm going to come take this side, come behind it, and bring it through the loop. And make sure you hold this so it doesn't slide out. There's one side. Take the other side, go behind, come through the loop. Oh, hold that there. So make sure I have my red dot right there. You just want to tighten that really good. It'll sit on that eye bolt just right. So when you start macrameing, it'll macrame it right against those knots, and it'll hang straight down. It won't be hanging to the left or to the right or sticking out from you. Okay? And at this point, what I like to do also is, once I tie these knots, I'm gonna go ahead and hang it around my neck and see if it's hanging right. And if it's not, you can always loosen this knot and slide it up or down. So, let's start macrameing. Now, just as if you were making a paracord bracelet, you're going to tie this the exact same way. Now, when I was younger, I think this was called a square knot. And of course, if you look it online now, I believe it's called a cobra knot. If I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure it's called a cobra knot now. But the old book I have on macrame called it a square knot. So that's what we're going to tie. It looks just like I'm making a bracelet on a jig, paracord jig. So I bring this one behind. Those two lines, those are my center lines. I'm going to tie with these outside lines. And I think you're going to find you're going to like these little overhand knots I tied first. It's going to keep it nice and straight. So here we go. We come behind, and then this one right comes behind. Bring it over top. Feed it through the loop. Slowly bring it together. Oops. You kind of hold, tug, and adjust it with your fingers how you need to do it. Okay, and now for the other side. See, I did this side first, so now I'm going to come to this side. And go behind, and bring this one under, and through the loop. What's funny is that the first knot is going to be your most challenging knot because it wants to pull and move around, but once it's tied, look, I don't have to hold the bottle or hold the knot. I just freely tie my knots. So if you get stuck on that first knot, don't feel bad. That's normal. Now go back to the other side. I'm going to start on the left side now. Go behind my center cords. Bring this behind it and through the loop. See, that's my third one. You can always hold the center cord and push this knot down if you want a little more tighter, more uniform looking. Okay, we just started this. Now we're on the right side. Okay, there's 4. Now I've stopped at 4 before, but I'm going to actually go 6 knots on this one. So here's number 5. And 6. Now, as you see, I have way too much slack here. I can save that for another craft in the future, but also the reason why you want to have too much, it's good to have too much than not enough. I've been on the end where I had a little bit and I could not tie my last knot, so I had to make it a few knots shorter. But there we go. Flip it around. Look at that. All you do now is, these outside pieces, you're going to cut them close, take a lighter and just melt it, and then press against it so it kind of fuses together. Let me get my lighter. I have cut both sides off, and all you do now is you take your lighter and be very careful. You just want to lightly melt. I like to melt with the blue part of the flame. If you melt with the blue part of the flame, it doesn't turn black and melt. Okay, then I just take the bottom of the lighter and lightly press. See how it kind of mushroomed out? And there you go. That's not going anywhere. Go to the other side now. Yeah, if you melt with the yellow part of the flame, it turns black and looks charred. I forget who showed me that, but that's what I do. Especially when you make paracord bracelets or plant hangers or something, you don't want to look charred and burnt. Uh-oh. There you go. Just kind of lightly press with the lighter so I don't burn my hand. And then just kind of press, and there you go, look. There it is. Now, if you want to stop right there, that's fine. That's great. Because you may not have these. Now, I did buy these on Paracord Galaxy. I love that website. Hundreds and hundreds of different colors of paracord. And it comes apart. Okay, so if you want to stop right there because you don't have one, then look, you're done. You have yourself a lanyard to put your shark teeth in. At this point, I'm now going to show you how to add this onto the end for safety. You want to be very careful right here. You're going to start with your holder and just kind of slide all the way down, oops, to the end of your lanyard. And I kind of put my finger and pull as if it was hanging off of me, and right there is where you want to cut. See that on top of my finger? So hold that wet like that. There you go. Okay, after you cut that, what I like to do is I like to cut about maybe 2 inches of the center core out. That'll really help you later when you're tying your knot to fit inside this. If not, it's going to bunch up and be difficult. Okay, I found this by accident. I accidentally cut too much out for something else. But anyway, let's see. Cut about 2 inches and kind of let it fall back in there. If you see, it looks like it's hollow. It's hollow to about right there. But if you went a little too much, it's okay, because this is going to be tied up anyway. Let me do the other side. We're going to pull that center core out. Okay. Just look in there, see how it looks empty? That's what you want right there. Okay. The next part, you want to slip on this connector onto the ends of the paracord and make sure you snap it where, now look, now you're going to actually tie this off later, but make sure you have it in such a way where you can see that it'll shut. Okay, so you should be right here now. See the ends that you took the center core out? You want to tie an overhand knot. Now, I like to hold this end piece, because if you tie your knot down here, you still have the center core in your paracord. I'm going to feed it up until I'm up here at the very edge. Oh, careful. Just like that. See that you just barely want this sticking out. So when you tie it, you have a small knot. I like to use needle nose pliers to hold. Just push, feed that knot as close to the end as you can. And I can already feel that that knot is small. See, this part has the core, it's thick. That knot feels tiny. I'm gonna pull that knot nice and tight. See? See how small that knot is? And then, so when you feed your cord up, what you're going to do is once you get that knot small, don't cut it yet, because if you messed up, you can't untie it. See, I'm going to feed that up. Oh, do you see how that knot sits right inside that connector? That's what you want. So I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to take scissors that I dropped, and I'm going to trim this off, take my lighter and melt it and press it again. If you press it and kind of mushroom it out over the knot, it will not untie. There we go. I just melted this, pressed it out, and see how it sticks out? It's not going to unravel itself. And then when you slide this back in, see how it fits down in there? There you go. You have one end done. Now we have to do this end, and then you're ready to connect it. So again, with this side, you want to tie an overhand knot. Okay. Then you want to, I'm going to use these, my little robo grips. Pinch the end and just push that knot as close as I can to it. You can kind of feel when that knot is off of the inner core. It gets really small. Oops. And then you want to tighten that really good. See? Trim it off. Take your lighter, melt it down, and then press the bottom of your lighter against it so it mushrooms out, and it will not unravel. Let's feed that up. Feed that up and push that knot in. Now there's a, right here, you have that little connector piece that connects in. I do find it's a little bit of a challenge to push that knot in there, but I once made that knot way too small to get it in there, and I pulled it out the other end. So you still want to make this knot the same way you made this one. Okay, see this one doesn't have, this is where it connects into. Okay, and then you're going to have to just work it down in there. You can use your, oops, there it goes, see? Give it a little tug. Make sure it's not going to come out the other end, which it's not, see? It's down in there. And look. There it is. My shark tooth lanyard is complete. There it is. Walking on the beach. Open it up. Drop your teeth in. Screw it back on. Continue walking. And then what I do is I just, like I said, I wear this. Here's my first one. Where's my first one? Here it is. Here's my first one. I use an old medicine bottle. It's kind of big. See? And then I put my teeth in it and just wear it. And I see I left my teeth in there. I'm not going to make a new one for the next trip. What I'll do is when I, later I'll probably put those in a small bottle for storage or something. And then I have my, there you go. You can put small seashells in it. The first one I ever made, my son took it and he used it to put lightning bugs in, or fireflies, wherever you're from, whatever you call them, and put them in there and walk around the yard. There you go. But, see? There you go. There's your lanyard. See? And this piece will sit on the back of your neck. And so if you, let's say if you fall and get hung on something like a fence or railing or something, it'll just pop right off. And it takes a little bit of adjusting to pull it apart. It's not going to be loose. Mine has never come loose when I'm walking with it. There you go. The best part is I used a color of paracord that I happen to have, and it's personalized based on the color I like. Hope you enjoy. Have a good day.